In brightest day, in blackest night, beware your fears made into light. Welcome to Jkun's Review Board, where nothing escapes judgment. As promised, it is time to do the review on Green Lantern, Rise of the Manhunters. Now, obviously, I'm a very, very big Green Lantern fan, so it was very, very hard for me to review this game and be as harsh that as I'm probably going to wind up being. But the role of being a reviewer means having an unbiased opinion and looking at the cold hard facts, regardless of the character base or the genre that you may actually be ripping into. So I'll give a brief description of the game. You play as Hal Jordan, who is voiced by Ryan Reynolds for the game, the guy who's going to be playing Hal Jordan in the movie. It's taking place right around the time of Abinsur's funeral, which is being taken care of by his son Aminsur. Don't worry if you don't know any of those names. You'll find out when the movie comes out. But overall, um, this race of robots that the Guardians created before the Green Lantern Corps comes by and starts attacking and basically just making a mess of everything. I don't want to go into too much detail as far as the storyline of the game. I'll leave it up to you to form your own opinion, so I'm just going to jump right into the pros and cons of the game. One of the pros of the game is it's a very familiar gameplay for those of you that have played games like Dante's Inferno or God of War. You're going to be right at home with this type of gameplay. It's very, very, very similar to that type of gameplay. Upgradable moves, spells, or constructs, I guess you could call it, since we're dealing with Green Lanterns here. Voice acting. The voice acting is actually not that bad. You get a decent performance out of Ryan Reynolds, although some of his lines definitely sound like they were phoned in. Overall, it doesn't sound half bad. Graphically, it's definitely not the worst I've seen on a next-gen console, but it's not the best. So it's somewhere in the middle. It's not bad. Um, it doesn't just play out the storyline of the movie. Don't ask me how I know this. I just know. It has fairly challenging gameplay. It's not something you're just gonna breeze through, or then again you might. There will be some points in the game where you're gonna get stuck and you're gonna have to think things out a little bit. Now for the cons. It is way too short. I got the game Tuesday. I finished it last night. Way too short of a game. Like, I want to say at least 6 to 8 hours max of playtime. Didn't take me long at all to finish this game. It was very, very repetitive. I found myself doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Beat up the bad guys, upgrade a skill. Beat up the bad guys, upgrade a skill. Even with it kind of changing it up every couple of levels from a run around, beat 'em up, and upgrade your shit type of game style to a almost over the shoulder fly and shooting type of level, kind of reminiscent of Space Harrier or some of your overhead shooters like Ikaruga or Raiden or even 1942. It's very reminiscent of that. Um, Even with it trying to change things up, I found myself getting very bored with it, and the last couple of levels, I was really willing myself, pardon the pun, to finish it, just so I could basically do this review. No co-op or multiplayer functions whatsoever, at least not online. Like, I couldn't play this with one of my friends online. If they happened to be here, they could play it with me. They have a hop in and out feature where player 2 would use Sinestro, one of the other Green Lanterns, to kind of hop in and jump around and play with you. And they could jump back out if they got bored of playing. as I did. But as far as online components, there are none whatsoever. And lastly, one of the really bad things about it, and this is what disappointed me the most, there is virtually no extra content whatsoever. It has a little menu that says extras, and all it is it's a preview of the movie. There's like 2 or 3 previews of the movie actually, and then a preview for their upcoming DVD that also got released on Tuesday, Green Lantern Emerald Knights. But we'll touch on this later on. Overall, there's virtually no content there. There's nothing in the game that makes you want to play through it a second time. Virtually anything that you could get an achievement for, you can do it all in one playthrough, so there's really no incentive to pick it up and touch it again after you've already beaten it once. So my final judgment for this is unfortunately going to be, if you're a Green Lantern fan, go ahead and get it, because it's probably the only game we're going to get anytime soon. If you're not so much a Green Lantern fan, just pass it on by. It's not worth your time. And it really, really hurts me to have to make a judgment like that, especially on a character that I love. Like, I didn't really get into Green Lantern until maybe just a few years back, during the War of Light, when all the different corps started coming up. That's when I started actively reading Green Lantern. And for me to just have to rip this game a new one like that, it really, really saddens me. But overall, that is my judgment. Now, since I obviously still have a decent amount of time here, I'll go ahead and start touching on Green Lantern Emerald Knights. Now, a lot of different trends have been happening over the past couple of years when it comes to games and movies based on comic books. There is usually some form of an animated feature to go along with it. If a movie's coming out, they usually get a game and about an hour-long animated feature. Green Lantern Emerald Knights pretty much follows that trend, where I guess in the same format as Batman Gotham Knight or Halo Legends, or even the Animatrix. The Animatrix is the one that really started this kind of trend, where it's not so much a full-blown movie, it's a collection of stories that kind of add up in the end into one long story. It basically plays out with this big crisis threatening the entire universe. The entire Green Lantern Corps is gearing up for battle, and during the whole preparation sequence or whatever, Hal Jordan is training a new recruit, and he's telling her stories. You get to find out some background on the origin of Kilowog, basically the trainer of all the Green Lanterns. You find out some information about the origin of Mogo, which is the Green Lantern planet. It even touches on some of the stuff in the comics where Abensur first ran into Atrocitus, who later on becomes the leader of the Red Lanterns. And then you finally have your climax where they have the battle they've been preparing for, and everything just kind of comes together perfectly. So you get to see some extra light shed on some of the Green Lanterns that are usually left in the dust because the light is almost exclusively on Hal Jordan. Overall, it was only $20 for a Blu-ray copy of the film. It's not bad. I definitely recommend that over the game any day of the week. But all of this is basically in preparation to the movie, so I guess this is pretty much all considered fluff work until next Friday. Speaking of next Friday, for those of you that are actually local to me and actually want to come join me and Scott, representing Ghetto Rig Productions, at the Regal Cinemas at South Park Mall in Colonial Heights. I will actually be there that night, the Thursday night for the midnight premiere, dressed as Green Lantern. So you could come down, get your picture taken, and all that type of stuff. We'll be there hanging out with everybody. Next week may or may not be another video. I haven't decided yet. I may just wait until after I come back from Anime Mid-Atlantic and just do kind of a recap shout-out video just like I did for Animazement. So there will be more info on that as I go along, but until then, this has been Jkun's Review Board, where nothing escapes judgment.